Satoru freaking Gojo has once again awakened. Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 226 just reminded everyone to never doubt the strongest sorcerer of this era. Because even without his own domain or limitless, he managed to tank Sukuna's domain expansion. A feat that nobody could even think of. How did he do something so insane? Well, ladies and gentlemen, he is him. Going back to chapter 222, Sukuna referred to Gojo as a nameless fish on his cutting board, vowing to first pluck off his scale. In the very next chapter, Sukuna materialized this analogy by forcing Gojo into his domain, which represents the board. Gojo's own domain getting destroyed by the barrierless, malevolent shrine stripped him from using his affinity. This curse technique had kept Gojo untouched for such a long time and would serve as the scales that Sukuna promised to strip away. This metaphor is highlighted perfectly as once removed, Sukuna is easily able to fillet Gojo like a fish. Sukuna's malevolent shrine is total carnage with his constant barrage of slash attacks, and using a balls deep anime bullshit science, in this video we found out that Sukuna can use his curse technique 1363 times per minute. But now Sukuna with an exponential growth of 20 fingers and having his domain active, it's not far-fetched to say Sukuna's malevolent shrine is dealing 10,000 slashes per minute. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but I think it's kind of a fair estimate. Remember guys, this domain from 15 fingers Sukuna took out Maharaga, the strongest Shikigami of 10 shadows, without a problem. These slashes were faster than Maharaga's reverse curse technique to heal itself. So Gojo is absolutely wrecked. His whole body slashed up and bloodied with Sukuna's relentless strikes. Well, except for Gojo's designer clothes, because they refuse to get destroyed, even though Sukuna is trying his best to contribute to some fan service. L domain, come on. I mean, we got him shirtless but not Gojo, so this clearly means that the fight isn't serious yet. In fact, even in this horrific state, Gojo is fine. Yeah, he's absolutely fine. In fact, he's just messing about. He's enjoying this shit.
I don't know. I think that's a bit dodgy, mate.
Seriously, I ain't kidding. Gojo is feeling great, relishing the fact that his curse technique is absolutely superior to Sukuna's. Why? Well, Gojo is not dead. In fact, he's able to dance to the reign of Sukuna's domain. However, Gojo feels confident that Sukuna will not be able to do the same with his domain and curse technique. In the midst of this brutality, Gojo is once again experiencing an extraordinary high. The acceleration he's getting from this battle reminds us of Kenjaku's statement that Gojo is in his element most when he's fighting on his own. This is a parallel to chapter 75. Against his fight with Doji, to Gojo, everything felt right at that moment. But the reason why Gojo is so casual in this life or death situation is because he is honored by the heavens with the 6 eyes. Yes, while Sukuna's shrine is constantly attacking, Gojo is healing himself with an even greater speed, which is ridiculous to imagine. Just to put this into perspective, 10,000 slashes per minute is around 167 cuts per second. The fastest machine gun in the world can shoot up to 6,000 rounds per minute. Sukuna's rate of attack is 2 times faster, yet Gojo is able to take it head on and negate the damage by instantly healing himself at those speeds. This is only possible for Gojo, as after mastering Limitless with his 6 eyes, he learned to use reverse curse technique on autopilot so he can have a constant supply of that good old positive energy, preserving his brain at all times whilst his technique is active. But hey, you can preserve our community by simply smashing that like button and hitting that notification bell as we witness history together. Think about it. It's crazy that Gojo didn't even lose any limbs or parts of his body, which instantly gives him the best defensive feat in the entire manga. This goes back to how Jogo in chapter 15 was amazed at Gojo's durability, stating that the average Jujutsu sorcerer would have been burnt to a crisp just by entering his domain. In fact, all the more so when we remember that Gojo is now now going up against the same attacks that killed off sorcerers like Ryu and Yoruzo in the blink of an eye. Gojo is even making Yuji's best defensive feat seem minuscule in comparison, as he was up against only Sukuna's curse technique rather than domain and had Megumi's help to suppress its power. However, it's not just constant healing that protects Gojo, as just like Yuta, who has shown cursed energy reinforcement multiple times, Gojo can also reinforce his entire body to protect vital organs and tap into a ridiculous attacking power. So with all of this, Gojo is able to take the furies of attack from Sukuna's domain, which gives him enough time to observe that the center of this domain is the shrine instead of Sukuna himself. This is paralleled with Yuji also questioning what would happen if the shrine would be destroyed. Kusakabe explains that the elements manifested from a person's inner domain usually do not have special meaning, making it more symbolic and the same as not existing. Think of it as some apparition for aesthetic effects. Mei also notes that since Gojo, with his all-seeing 6 eyes, isn't even attempting to destroy it, means that it's nothing more than a symbolic thing, right? No, because Gojo's thought process seems to tell us a different story. Let's not forget that Sukuna's domain is something like no other, as it's confirmed to be divine. It's open with no boundaries and does not require a physical one like Megumi's. So what if the shrine itself has its own binding vow to allow its huge advantage? However, as Gojo searches for a way to defend himself, Sukuna catches him in another hand-to-hand battle, and still Gojo manages to meet Sukuna hit for hit, whilst keeping his reverse curse technique running to protect his body from the domain slashes. This impresses Sukuna to the point where he expresses that Gojo is moving too well for someone who is doing all of that. But Gojo further showcases his genius and finally finds the means to defend himself against Sukuna's malevolent shrine. How? By using simple domain when everyone least expected it. Well, only if you were a silly willy that didn't hit the notification bell, because this is exactly what we had predicted. We stated how Gojo's only option after healing himself with RCT would be to either escape Sukuna's domain range, which is around 200 meters, or to use simple domain. And just like us, after seeing Gojo's plight, all of the sorcerers were wondering the same. Joso and Hakari even suggested that since Sukuna's domain is open and Gojo's speed is insane, he should be able to escape easily even if its range is the entirety of Shibuya. But they forgot an important factor brought up by Kusakabe, which is curse technique burnout. Casting a domain leads to temporary instability of the sorcerer's innate technique, meaning using curse technique during this burnout is not possible. So even though Gojo's domain had collapsed, he was still experiencing a burnout of limitless technique, which is why the slashes could get to him in the first place. And Kusakabe confirms that Gojo's speed is not due to him flying at Mach 100 speed, but rather it's teleportation due to his limitless, which relies on manipulating space between the coordinates. Therefore, he can't teleport away from Sukuna's domain, eliminating that option. So Gojo does the only thing that's left and activates new shadow style, simple domain, sending Yuji into disbelief as he thought that Gojo couldn't do that. But Kusakabe tells him to put respect on Gojo's name. Just because he can't teach it, it doesn't mean he can't do it. As being born a genius, Gojo does not need much training to unlock even the most complex techniques, reminding us what Jogo said about him in Shibuya. Is there anything you don't have? Now protected in a simple domain, Gojo also healed all of his scars and he looks fresh as he did at the beginning of the fight. All of this puts into perspective the story highlighting how Gojo and Sukuna makes every other sorcerer seem like insects in comparison. Even the use of Gojo's simple domain is triple the size and diameter compared to the other characters. But what the heck is simple domain? And how did it help Gojo in this pinch? Well, simple domain is basically an anti-domain technique, which a lot of the sorcerers like Miwa, Dodo, and Uyui, among others, have used. In simple words, it creates a small barrier around the sorcerers to protect them from the imbued curse technique or the automatic hit of a domain expansion. But as Choso reminds us, the simple domain's low output makes it susceptible to getting destroyed within an extremely powerful domain, and Sukuna does exactly that. However, within a second, Gojo reactivates another simple domain, but this time, much to everyone's shock, he stopped using reverse curse technique to heal himself. What? Had Gojo finally run out of cursed energy? Well, the sorcerers did discuss that even though Gojo has seemingly infinite cursed energy due to his 6 eyes, he still wouldn't be able to keep it up under abnormal circumstances. In this fight, Gojo was constantly using his reverse curse technique, which needs double the amount of curse energy than what is required for normal abilities. On top of that, Gojo also used this domain expansion, cursed energy reinforcement, and simple domain twice. I mean, all of this don't spell normal usage. So is Gojo going to lose? Hell no! This is Satoru freaking Gojo.
You're goddamn right.
Just when everyone thought he was cornered, Gojo pulled an invincible move, an attack that all shonen villains are afraid of, an act beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Gojo hugs Sukuna. Hey, listen, yeah. I don't know if you can call this hugging. It sure looks a little bit more than that, but listen, it's not like that. Gojo took Sukuna by surprise with his incredible speed, but it was just to close the gap for his next move. He did something truly unthinkable. He used reverse curse technique to heal the burnout.
Nani?
Yeah, did we really think that Gojo will continue this fight without his curse technique? That's why he stopped focusing on fixing his body, so he could redirect all of that positive energy into purging out the burnout. It's clear from this fight that Gojo's most powerful assets are reverse curse technique and 6 eyes, both broken abilities that ensure 2 things. Number 1, that Gojo never runs out of curse energy, and number 2, that even if he has the most minimal amount of curse energy, he can not only use attacks like Hollow Purple, but also heal himself very quickly to be fresh again. Sukuna will definitely have to counter both of these things to defeat Gojo. Firstly, whilst cursed energy flows from the stomach, reverse curse technique is directed from the user's brain. Therefore, Sukuna will have to destroy Gojo's head without even giving him a chance to recover. Another possible counter is to poison him, since unlike flesh regeneration, dealing with toxins require a higher level of positive energy. Not even Urame was able to deal with Choso's poison in chapter 135. But we're talking about Gojo. And if Yuta was able to heal poison with his RCT as shown with Nooya, then it will be no problem for Gojo. However, we have to remember, guys, aside from being called the King of Curses, Sukuna also has the title of King of Poison, so it might play an important role here. But the 6 eyes is a whole different matter. It provides Gojo with incredible efficiency, so much so that the amount of cursed energy lost when he activates a cursed technique is infinitesimally close to 0. Due to this, a proper 6 eyes user like him will never run out of cursed energy. Sukuna himself also realizes this, which is why he will aim to render Gojo without his overpowered 6 eyes, as foreshadowed in the opening 2. Moreover, this technique has played a significant role historically looking back. It was a power so strong that Kenjaku, the mastermind, plotted to get rid of the 6 eyes users. He was defeated by 2 to the point where he didn't take any chances and killed another one only a month after they were born. He was so afraid he had to kill a baby. But they kept respawning, resulting in his plan changing to seal away Gojo in the current era instead. However, Gojo being Gojo breaks free of this plan due to his philosophy of collectivism, allowing his friends to create a counter plan to break him out. But why is it that the 6 eyes kept respawning every generation in the first place? Well, Master Tengen stated that the existence of the 6 eyes is linked to her by fate. But the deeper message here is to do with the Buddhist principle that Jujutsu Kaisen embodies. Like, death is inevitable for every living being, even someone as divine as Sukuna. Though he scoffed at the idea and called it ironic when he looked at his own skull, the real irony was that it was a reference to Hamlet, in which the story claims death will come to every soul. Another concept that Jujutsu Kaisen revolves around is the balance of the world. For example, when Gojo was born, the Jujutsu world balance was shifted to the point that curses got stronger to compensate, even though Gojo represented good. Likewise, Sukuna is the epitome of all evil, and during during his era, he broke the balance of the world as well, which ushered the era of the strongest sorcerers. And even the Gojo clan having the 6 eyes, which respawns each time like a cycle, supposedly beginning after Sukuna started defying God's law, it was the birth of an equal force to create a true balance in the world. The fact that no 2 6 eyes users exist at the same time only furthers the idea that it is a power that exists to balance out the good and evil. Only when both these juggernauts, unstoppable force and immovable objects, are removed from this world will it return back to its normal balance, which is why both Gojo and Sukuna have to die. In short, it is a canon event that we cannot intervene. Hence why this battle will go on for another 10 chapters, as Gojo's use of reverse curse technique brings him back to 100% by healing his burnout, leading Gojo's surprise attack to blast Sukuna in the face with a point blank range of curse technique reversal red. If you forgot, Gojo used this attack against Jogo in chapter 14. When Gojo uses his reverse curse technique to power his limitless, he can create a massive repellent force at a single point, reversing the usual effect of blue limitless, which is a magnetic force. His use of red in the prequel blasted a giant curse spirit and obliterated it with so much power that a building also got destroyed. So this one attack sends Sukuna flying into his shrine, damaging him enough to compensate for how much Gojo had taken from his domain expansion in one go. So with Gojo now back on the offense and the shrine as his target, we will learn how Sukuna's domain actually works, including his own countermeasures, which is a lightning technique. If you want to learn more about this power of Sukuna, then make sure to watch this video next.